You're listening to Storage Nerds Podcast, where we unravel the best-kept secret of the real estate investing world, the storage industry. Join the grassroots guru in self-storage, Stacy Rosetti, in insightful discussions about finding, funding, and running these spaces, allowing you to yield the highest returns possible. Get your foot in the door on self-storage and discover how to properly purchase facilities, negotiate with sellers, and close the deal without worries. Start unpacking that investment wisdom with Stacy right now.
It's the last week of the 12-week session of like Stacy Rosetti's case studies of all her storage facilities. So we've been through we've been 11 weeks through all my 11 facilities. And we are now going on to the last facility. We are closing on another facility at the end of this month as well too. So as soon as we close it and get it up and running, and then I'll add that one to the case study, the case studies as well too. Now you will be able to, if you did not get to watch all 12 sessions of the case studies, then you will be able to see them in the course, Super Simple Self-Storage. So we are adding all 12 of them to the course. So if you own the course already, you will have access to those to rewatch them, when you go in. So just give us like, a week or two to get those up. We're trying to get those all edited and stuff. And then we'll have those ready. And then if you want to buy the course, then you will be able to go back and rewatch all of them. All right. So you can see all the different facilities. Now I buy facilities that are, small facilities. All right. $1 million or less. And there's like three different, if you're new here, thank you for coming. Just so everybody knows, I buy, $1 million or less. I've always bought $1 million or less facilities. I've been doing this for 5 years, and I'm here to help you get your foot in the door, because the types of facilities that I buy are smaller facilities. Okay, so I can definitely help you to do that. Now there's three different types of areas, okay, inside the self-storage investing world. There's the $1 million or less, section, right? And that's where like people like you and me, we're trying to get our foot in the door. We're trying to buy our first facility, and we can afford maybe $50,000 or $100,000 down. And so this is how much money that we can buy. This is how much facility that we can buy. Maybe it's 300,000 or 600,000, something like this. And so I call, I call this is like the newbies get your foot in the door, part of investing in self-storage. So $1 million or less. The truth is that, investing in self-storage, investing in any type of commercial property is really, it's expensive, right? And so you just have to know that, like, $50,000 or $100,000 is only going to get you so much, right? So you have to learn how to leverage other people's money. And so that is why, I wanted to move from the $1 million to the $3 million facilities, right? And so what I did is I went out and I just started my fund. It's the Self-Storage Fund of America. And and so that fund really buys like $1 million to $3 million properties. That's really the purpose of that fund. And so after 5 years of buying smaller facilities, right, I decided that I wanted to go out and start really raising bigger chunks of money, or I wanted to be able to pool money together. So that's why I started the fund. So then once I started the fund and started raising all this money, and then we were able to raise enough money to purchase the first facility in the fund. All right, and that's the facility that I'm going to go over today. So this is facility number 12 for us. And this is actually the very first facility where we purchased something and we gave up most of it, right? Because when you are the asset manager of a fund, then you're giving up a lot of that equity, a lot of that profit, and you're giving it to the investors. Whereas all of the other facilities that I've bought up till now, all 11 of those were all privately funded by private investors that just handed me over $300 or $400,000, and then I went out and bought the facility. Okay, so now we have this fund, and so I give up, 75%. I give up 75% of the deal. All right, so just keep that in mind as I go through this deal. And so and so how did I raise the $1 million to purchase this facility? Is I started out just raising money and learning how to raise money for all my other facilities. And I raised enough money to purchase 11 facilities over the course of 5 years. And then I started, started working on my fund, and then launched the fund this year. It took about a year for us to launch the fund. We launched the fund this year. And then I raised enough money to buy this facility that I'm going to go over today. And it was $1 million. And it's like, actually, that's the perfect size for us, honestly. That's a good size for us, $1 million. I mean, and I'll go over the numbers and stuff in just a second, but just kind of giving you the backstory. All right. So a lot of people think like, how is Stacy doing all these transactions and stuff? And it's really just a process, honestly. I started out, my very first facility was like a little teeny tiny facility. Right. And then just like you guys, I worked my way up, and I got bigger and bigger. So $1 million or less is a great pool to be. It's a great part of the industry to be in. There's nothing wrong with buying a small facility or buying a couple of small facilities and then really learning how to do everything, and then getting to the point where you can move up to a bigger one. And we just had a student showcase with one of my students. His name is Paul, and he came into the coaching program like 2 years ago. And his very first facility was like, I think 450 grand. It was a small facility. And then he also added more units on, right? And then, so now he's got this facility, but then he also, over the course of the last 2 years, he picked up 3 other facilities. So he went from 450 to like 750, and then he went to like 1.2, and then he just closed on another facility. It's like 1.8, right? So he kind of like started out with small facilities and worked his way up, which is what we've done too. But we're just kind of a little bit slower, maybe. I'm just slow because we just stayed with like the small facilities for so long. And then we decided to work on the fund, and so now we're raising $8 million, which is 8 facilities that are $1 million each, right? So we're not even going for like the big guns or anything. We're just going for like smaller facilities. So we're not, and a lot of times in the industry, you will hear like you can't make any money unless you have like 30,000 or 50,000 or 100,000. I'm about to sell 2 of my facilities. And yeah, my husband was like, what's a good offer for these? Because we actually we just did it like the easy way, honestly. We just called our competition and told them, hey, we're selling. Would you be interested in buying? And he said, yeah, I'll buy. So it's like literally within like a couple, within like, an hour, we just had those things. We had a buyer for them. Right. And so yeah, so he's going to give us an offer. And I said, look, I mean, just give us a fair offer. We're not like, we know, the thing is, I know how to buy storage facilities. I know how to make money. So, I'll give you a fair offer I'll give you a fair, sell. If you give me a fair offer, I'll sell it to you. I love when owners are like this. And so I want those types of people in my life. When there's owners that are just willing to work with you, I want that in my life. So I need to also be that person. Right. And so yeah, so I just called up our competition. But I already know the guy. His name's Todd, and great guy. And so I was like, Todd, we're thinking about selling like 2 of our facilities. There's 2 right here. Would you be interested? He's like, yeah, I'll pick them up. He's, let me run the numbers. Let me talk to my partner, and we'll just buy them from you. And I was like, okay. I was like, just give me a fair offer, and then I'll be happy. And so we're going to sell those 2 facilities because I want to be able to have some cash for next year, really. And also we're going to be buying a house and all kinds of good stuff. So I just want some money. And so, yeah, so that's kind of what we did. It was like really easy. And, and I didn't really want to go on just put them on Crexy and stuff. Because did you see how many facilities are on sale on Crexy right now? There's like 650 facilities for sale on Crexy. All right. Now, are there good ones on there? Probably. I mean, I don't know, but I'm not going to weed through all those. I just go directly to the owner. All right. But, maybe start looking on Crexy, and seeing if there's good deals. Try to shoot for like a 7 or an 8 cap on a facility. Okay. But I'm like not the type of person to get a realtor involved. Like, I just like to just work directly with owners and buyers and sellers. That's just kind of my personality. So I figured that'd be the best way to do that. So anyway, so now we have this fund, right? That's kind of the progression after, and I was talking to my coach. I have a couple of like private money coaches that I have one that's been in my life for quite a while, probably for like 5 years. And we were talking one day, and he was like, Stacy, you're about ready to do a fund. I really think that you should consider a fund. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, you're at that point now. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay, good. Because I had never even thought about it, honestly. And so when he said that, I was like, I'm gonna start me a fund. Right. And then it took like a year and a half for me to figure out how to do it. But and then there's the 3 million plus, right? So our fund is for $1 to $3 million. Essentially, our PPM just says like $1 to $3 million anywhere in Georgia or Florida. That's what our mismanaged facilities, and kind of what our PPM says. So, and then there's the 3 million plus people, right? There's the people in the industry that think that the only thing that you should ever buy is like 30, 40, 50, 60,000. And I get that. Easier to manage like one facility that's a huge, big facility. Way easier to do that. I totally get that whole concept. But the truth is there's like way too much competition in that sector. Way too much competition, first of all. And second of all, not all of us can afford $3 million, right? We can afford 300,000, but not 3 million, right? So there's nothing wrong with focusing on $1 million or less, or the $1 million to $3 million people, right? And I have all these different types of people inside the coaching program. So yeah, so the way that we found this facility, and I see some questions already, and I'll get to those just a second, but the way that I found this facility we're going to go over is actually, I didn't find it. One of my VAs found it, but actually I drove past this facility like so many times and tried to call this facility so many times in the last like 5 years. Well, actually, I would say like it's probably like not 5 years, probably 3 years. Like in a 3-year period, I drove past, I called, even had my acquisitions person call, and like the person either never answered the phone, or it was like just said, no, I don't want to sell or whatever. Okay. And so then Nick, who's one of my my virtual assistant acquisitions like specialists, he called, and the owner said, yeah, I'm ready to sell now. I was like, so it took like years. And I was like, man, I called that guy so many times in the past couple of years. So it took years for him to want to sell. And that's why I say it's all about timing. People are always going to want to buy facilities and sell facilities. So when you think of like, oh, there's not enough out there for anyone, the truth is that it's all about really timing. Just like anything else in the market, it's really just timing. So you never want to give up. Like, you never want to stop calling, and you can't just call them once and then like not call again. So, and I tell my virtual assistants, it's like they say, oh, I've called everybody in the state, and I'm like, okay, we'll call them again, right? Because the truth is that you want to keep calling and calling, because it just takes time for people sometimes. So anyway, so that's what happened, was that Nick called, just happened to call at the right time, and and said, and talked to the owner. His name is Ray. Very nice guy. In fact, I need to send him a card. And actually, he still comes to the facility, just comes in, like says hi and stuff, whatever. Like whenever he sees Pete there, because he lives, guess what? He lives right around the corner. He lives right around the corner. And the owner is having health issues. That's the issue, is that he's not healthy. And so he's just having a hard time managing the thing. And so, but then whenever he sees Pete there, he always just like drives on over and says hi and like talks and stuff, and talks to him and stuff. And so we still love that, and he says, every once in a while somebody will call and call the wrong number or whatever. And because his phone number, it's so funny, his phone number is like one digit off of like the phone number for the facility. And we actually ported the number from the facility over. So Pete took over that phone number. And um, and so, yeah, so like, so he'll come over and just say, he'll come over and just say hi or whatever. And then sometimes people call people still call his cell phone and stuff because, he was giving a cell phone out. So then he would come over and say, Pete, I got you a couple messages. And he like hands over some messages, like written messages from like some people and stuff. It's so funny. So, but yeah. Okay, so all right. Yeah, so let me show you some pictures of Blairsville. All right. And so like I said, Nick found this just calling. You guys know that I have, or if you don't know, then you'll know now, is that I have a team of virtual assistants that do nothing but just call storage facilities and ask them if they'd like an offer. Not if they want to sell, but if they want an offer. Right. And we've done $60 million in offers in the last couple of months. Sorry, I just kicked this, but $60 million in offers in the last couple of months. And I'm slowly seeing like more and more, like we're doing, like we just put in like 10 offers last week. So I'm seeing more and more people want offers, and actually more and more people are open to the prices that we're doing, because we're sticking to our guns. We're 7 and 8 caps is where we're at. Okay. Like if it's a tertiary market, it's an 8 cap. If it's a secondary market, it's a 7 cap. And if it's like secondary, but like more populated, we can maybe do a 6 cap, like a big secondary market, maybe a 6 cap, but mostly like in Texas, sometimes we'll do 6 caps because it's a little bit more expensive in Texas. But actually, we're really sticking to our guns. It's really 7 and 8 caps. And every facility that we've gotten under contract in the last, couple months have all been 7 and 8 caps. So a lot of people, I see a lot of posts about the market is horrible. Nobody wants to sell. But the truth is that, first of all, it's just a numbers game. So you ask yourself, how many offers have I put in? For every 50 offers that you put in, one is going to want to sell. Just think about that. For every 50 offers that you put in, one is going to want to sell. That's how the market is. I'm telling you. That's how the market is. So you can't just like put in one offer and then get upset because you didn't get it. All right. You have to become like an offering machine, because the sellers are at a point where they just still don't want to come down to, a lot of times, so you have to find the sellers that want to work with you. I have a student right now under contract with the facility, and it's an older guy, also health problems. And he was adamant about the price. Adamant. He wanted 300 grand. It was like 60 units for 300 grand. So it's not a bad price, actually. I mean, he's producing like, I don't know, a good amount of money. I can't remember what, but we ran the numbers. But then he also wants to owner finance. And so we're seeing a lot of owners that are open to owner financing. Maybe they want just a little bit more money than than you run the numbers for. But in the end, come on, what's like 20 grand or something, especially on these little tiny facilities. So we have one guy that we put an offer in for 370, and he wants 400,000, but he will owner finance. All right. And we put an offer in for 370. I mean, would you do that deal? I would do that deal. I already told my students, like, you got to do this deal. It's a great deal. Owner finance at like 4 or 5% interest. It's like, did you see the interest rates? It's like 7.25%. Like SBA is 7.25%. So if you're not running your numbers at 7.25% interest and 25% down, then by the time you close, that deal is not going to work. Right? So just keep that in mind as well too. And so you just have to start running your numbers. But the owner was willing to owner finance at 7% interest. No, I'm sorry, 6% interest is what he said. He went $300,000 down at 6%. We typically offer 4% and 5% interest rates when we do offers. And I'll show you that in the deal. But he was like, no, he's like, if I'm going to owner finance, I want 6% interest. It's like, she was like, I was like, it's like a couple $1,000s. You willing to pay a couple extra $1,000 for this deal? And she's like, yes, I'm totally willing. And I was like, I think that's a great decision. So you don't want to get too picky, and the numbers are still going to, turn out, good. So, because we always shoot for 10% cash on cash return. She was like well above 10% cash on cash return. Okay. So yeah, so we've got this one in Blairsville now. This is the first facility in our fund, right? In the 506C fund that we have. And it's a good one. Now I'm like sharing this fund with my investors. So I'm giving up 75% of this deal, and all of the deals that we find for the fund, I'm giving up 75% of the deal and only getting 25% of the deal. The question I have for you guys is, would you do that? Would you do a 25-75 split with investors, just so you can get a deal done? Well, the answer really should just be yes, because especially if you don't have a lot of money, right, to get your foot into the door and get going, what's the big deal? You're still going to be making money. I'll make 25% off of, whatever we buy. I'm guessing we're going to buy 5 or 6 different facilities at like, $6 million, $7 million, and then take double the value of that property and double the values of those properties, at least minimum, right? So I'll get 25% of that is what I'm going to get, and I'm giving up 75%. Right? Thank you, Eric. I appreciate that. Right. And I do invest a little bit of money. I co-invest 4% into the fund. So I have to put a little bit of money. Up until now, I'm 100% privately funded up until the fund. And the fund is the very first time that I'm putting my own money into the deal, right? So I had to put like 40 grand in for this deal, right? So we bought this facility for $1 million. So I invested $40,000 into the deal. Okay. And then I will get back 25% of that, after we get the numbers. So I'll show you the numbers. I'm going to show you some pictures of it. But at least I wanted to give you kind of a progression. I've been doing this for 5 years, actually, going on 6 years now, because it's been since 2017. So 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Yeah. So 6 years. Okay. So 6 years I've been doing this. The first year I bought one facility. It took us a year to figure out what we're doing. 6 years ago, there was nobody out there that really kind of like held your hand and told you what to do, and had like Monday sessions every Monday so you could hop on and listen and stuff, right? So I had to really figure this out, me and my husband. And then the second year we bought one facility again. Okay. And then the third year we bought 3 facilities. Okay. And then the fourth year we bought nothing, because we had 3 facilities under contract, and the day of closing they all backed out. I mean, the owner backed out, because it was 3 different facilities. So the owner backed out. So that year we bought nothing. And then last year we bought, how many do we have now? So that was like 3, 5. So we bought 6 facilities last year. 6 facilities 1 year. My husband was like, are you trying to kill me? So this year we're on track to do only 2, 2, maybe 3. All right. Because this year was hard. This is a hard year. All right. So we'll only buy 2. So who knows? I mean, the truth is, like, I'm not out there to like buy every facility. I'm out there to buy like really good facilities. And I'm going to show you the numbers on this one, because this is a very, very good facility. And, and so that's kind of how it works. Okay, good. Now I saw a couple of questions. 25% of every deal is pretty good with little of your own. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Where do you get your investors? Yeah, so that's a great question. So a 506C fund is a fund that allows you to promote your fund to anyone, any stranger. So the SEC does not allow you to tell strangers, try to ask strangers for money. Okay. So like if you're going to borrow money from like somebody, it should be somebody that you are close, like you're good friends with, neighbors. Like my very first investor that I ever had was my neighbor, right? So like that's a good relationship. Okay. And but like I chose the 506c because I wanted to be able to just pitch it out to you guys, all these people. So you guys know me, and you guys are part of my email list. You're part of my family now, but essentially really like, I don't really know you. So in order for me to be able to pitch to you guys this fund, I had to have the 506c. Okay. And so that's really kind of what that is. And it's for accredited investors. But so I basically do Facebook ads into an email campaign where I pitch all the time. And then I bring everybody into my pitches, and then I talk to them. But the good thing is that when I pitch, I'm pitching like not only to people that have money, but people that don't have money, right? So it's accredited and non-accredited. Now, before I had the fund, the way that I found my investors is I just asked all the people that I ever came in contact with and talked to and met through like the RIA that I owned, or the coaching that I did and things like that, or like all my friends and family and neighbors and things like that. So that's really how I found my private money, was through that. Okay. Up until I got the fund, and the fund allowed me to be able to go out to the world and ask strangers for money. And that was actually one of the goals that I had like 5 years, and even before I got into storage, I was like, how am I going to get permission to ask strangers for money? Okay. Now, let's see. Okay, so just wanted to pick your mind. Instead of selling your facilities, wouldn't it be better to pull money out of your facilities to be liquid so you can continue to enjoy the cash flow, future appreciation? Seems like that would check boxes. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean that it just, as long as the numbers work, you could totally do that. And we may, I mean, if he doesn't come up with a good offer, then we could do a cash out refi is what we could do as well. Yeah, and we may do that. I mean, we've got like 12 facilities. We've got several of them that are owner financed, and then some of them, but most of them are just like private debt is what they are. And those notes are starting to come due, because typically my notes on my private debt are anywhere from like 3 to 5 years. And so like all those notes are all starting to come due. So we had one note that came due, and then I talked to, actually the lender that lent me the money. He was like, it's been 5 years. Do you want to, like, what do you want to do? Are you going to sell your property or what? And I was like, yeah, I think it's about selling it. He's like, why don't you just like refi, why don't we just do it again and you could just have another 5 years? And I was like, really? He's like, yeah. He's like, I don't want my money back. And I was like, oh, okay. And I'm paying 8% interest to him. 8% interest is what like everybody's paying right now. 8% interest, like on houses. People are paying that on houses right now. So for me, like, if I can get 6 to 8% interest on money, like, I could just you do private money as well. Anyway, so that's kind of that now. But yeah, maybe we refi out, but like, a couple of the properties we may sell, we may 1031 exchange that into like some other facilities or some other property as well too. Or we may just hold on to the cash and just have it available. We're not 100% sure. We're just kind of like trying to really figure out what to do. And I really do want to have like money available for next year, because I think that next year is gonna be like so good. So hopefully you guys are preparing for next year. Where can I get some money to buy some facilities, either partnering with other people or having your own money, right? And yeah, there's a lot of facilities on Crexie right now, so just make sure. And most of the realtors that like, or the brokers that put the stuff on Crexie, like they just don't know how to run numbers, right? I mean, NOI is not how much you're going to make. All right. I don't understand the whole concept of NOI. NOI is really important if you pay cash, right? But really NOI minus your mortgage is what you really need to be looking at. Right. That's the key. And they just post out, 75,000 NOI, and it's just like, but that means nothing, I don't know. Do you think it's better to start with close to $1 million, 100 units net property, than smaller ones due to the economies of scale? Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. That's kind of what everybody says. But the truth is if you can afford $1 million, go for it and do $1 million. Okay. If you can't afford $1 million, you need to buy whatever you can afford. All right. Because that's going to get your foot in the door. Okay. Whatever you can afford. So like I have a student, Luther, that he has no money. He's 22 years old. Is he on here? Everybody knows Luther in the group, right? And he like has no money. He has no money and he has 3 facilities. He's been in the coaching program since January. And he's getting the owner to owner finance, these little tiny facilities that are like maybe 30 to 50 units, something like that. And then he has to come out of pocket, maybe like, $5,000 or something like that. So he scrapes together this money to do that. So the truth is like whatever you can afford, whatever you can do, that's what you should be doing. So maybe it's $1 million, but if you're going to just tell yourself, I can only buy something if I have $1 million and then save up. I mean, it's 200 grand. You know what I'm saying? So you might as well just say, look, I know I can come up with 50 grand. Let me just get out there and look for something and see what I can find for, 50 grand, or maybe I could put $50,000 down or something, Yeah. So I don't want to stop anybody, based on the money that you have. And you could always wholesale something as well, too. I always talk about wholesaling. I teach this in my coaching program. And then also somebody asked what's small. Okay, so for me, like inside our coaching program, for all the turnkey acquisitions that we do for all the students, essentially I tell my virtual assistants, I say, okay, 50 units or less, unless there is room to add on. There needs to be an acre of land. And so like we looked at one today in Illinois, and the owner wants to sell. He wants an offer. He wants an offer. And so we offered him, it's like on a 1.5 acre piece of land, and he has 22 units or 24 or something like that. So there's one building on like this big piece of property. All right. And he wants like 150 grand for it, which I think is kind of fair. Now you would have to come in and add 2 more units, but adding two buildings at 50, you could probably put another like maybe 4 buildings on there, 3 to 4 buildings, maybe. Okay, so at 20 units each. So we ran the numbers at 50 and 75. I mean, at 70, if you could spend like 250 grand plus the 150 to purchase, right? So you're all in at like, 400 grand. You'd have a facility, you'd have something that's worth like 900 grand at the end. All right. So you would double the value of that property just by spending that $250,000. All right. So there's just, as long as you have that land. So I don't ever tell any of my students just buy something that's like 24 units and there's like no place to grow or anything like that. Okay. I always want some extra land. All right. That's the key. Okay. So let me just pull up Blairsville and let me share the screen here. And so y'all could see some pictures and stuff. I mean, it looks like a storage facility. So I don't know, what to tell y'all, but I'll at least give y'all some pictures of it. So this is the one that we just bought in the fund. Okay, so now you could see what it looks like. It's got this is like an office. This is like the office is down here. This is like a little garage area, and this is the apartment up here. There's like a 1-bedroom, huge apartment upstairs. All right, and so that's included. And then you can see the facility looks just like a regular facility here, pictures. There's also climate control. Yeah, so there's a building, climate control inside. So we actually own climate control. And then there's a big piece of land there that we've got somebody coming in and bush hogging. And it's like, you can see all these trees, they're going to clear, like kind of going to clean it up. We're going to bush hog it, and then we're going to park RVs there, boat and RVs there. And it's I'll show you like an over picture of it, but it's like very secluded. And nobody will even be able to see any of the RV. And this income is not even included in the numbers I'm going to show you. Okay. And there's also on this property a house. There's a house, a very nice house. Of course, the lady that lives there, she's like always complaining about the house. She's like, this needs done, this needs done. Now, she's been living in this house for 10 years, paying $400 a month. And it is a 2,400 square foot house with a garage. All right. But we heard through the grapevine that this house may be haunted. All right. So I don't know. Like maybe she's the only one that can live there. So somebody, I guess somebody in town told us, ooh, that house. Oh, well, we heard that house was haunted. Isn't that funny? So maybe it's haunted. Here's the house right here. Okay. Really nice house. She's lived in it for 10 years, upkept it. She got a koi pond. So it's like super nice house. Here's the piece of the land. Let me show you. And the town itself is like a little tiny town, 718 people in it. All right. But within like a 10-mile radius, I don't know how much is there. I forgot, but it's probably like 25 to 30, like 1,000 people. So it's a little tiny town, but it's in like an area that's like super populated. It's in the North Georgia mountains is where it's at. Let me pull this up right here. If anybody knows Blairsville. And, it's very important to really know. I don't know why my voice is cracking. That's weird. It's important to know, your market and what's happening inside your market. Now, I know this area very well. So I just kind of know. But yeah, so you can see there's Blairsville, and it's north of Atlanta, and it's up here in the mountains. We actually own another storage facility in the Jasper area. Right. So we have one already kind of in the area, and it's about a 40-minute drive, 45-minute drive from Jasper to Blairsville. Okay. So it's not too bad. But this 575 corridor is like booming. Like, I mean, there's so much growth, so much going on, new subdivisions all along this highway and stuff, all the way up to about LJ. And then it starts getting a little bit more country out here. But essentially what I'm saying is that like the Atlanta movement is north. If anybody knows Atlanta, like everybody's just moving north. For some reason, everybody's moving north and nobody ever really moves south. It's like the weirdest thing. All right. And so yeah, and we used to live in the Jasper area, so that's why I know this. And I've been driving for storage up in this area. That's why I said I've talked to every storage facility in this area, every owner, and asked them for like years. I asked them. And then of course my VA calls and he's like, yeah, I'm ready, and I'm like, what? I've been trying to call forever. So anyways, yeah, so this is it. This is Blairsville, and it's just like this is like a North Georgia mountains, like kind of touristy, but actually a lot of people live here as well too. Just really nice area. And so ours, let me say American. It was called. I wonder if it's Miss Lillian's yet. I don't think so. We haven't got. I don't think we've gotten it switched over. Yeah, we haven't gotten this switched over to Google Maps yet. We're not Miss Lillian's. It's Mission Self Storage. So for our fund, we have a different brand. We have Mission Self Storage. Our personal, is Miss Lillian's, and then the fund is Mission. All right. So this is the property here. So let me just kind of do an overview right here. Now you can see here, this is our competition right here. This is actually just boat and RV storage. All right, so he has no like regular facilities here. All right, but he does do boat and RV. And actually, he's a really nice guy as well too. We met him. He came over one day and introduced himself. I just love the country, man. When like the competition comes over and like introduces yourself, that's like pretty cool, huh? So him and Pete, introduced themselves. And that's why I said we know like the one that we're selling, we know the competition there as well too. And they've called and introduced ourselves. So that's another reason why I love the country so much. So yeah. So as you can see, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buildings. All right. And then that house that I showed you is like right here in the middle. Okay. And then right here, this piece of land is included. All right. And this is a 1/2 acre. So we could always clear this and then we could build more units if we needed to. This is climate control. This is that building that I showed you that was climate control. And then this is like long, skinny, just like outdoor drive up right here as well too. And then here's where the house is. And it comes with a barn as well too. Oh, it's the funniest thing too, is that the owner, he also, he included a ATV into the sale. He was like, I can't get this thing to start, so y'all could just have it. Look, I see how this guy's so nice. I just love nice storage facility owners. So he was like, you could just have it. So he left the ATV into this, he left it here. And so Pete's gonna try to fix it. So we'll have like an ATV. Isn't that funny? And this is the house with the koi pond and stuff right here. So it's a really good piece of property. And And this right here is, you can totally add another building right there. Like if you wanted to put another, just like same thing like this right here, you could do that, because there's definitely plenty of space to come up in here. There's a lot of space right here. And then over here is that area I told you we're clearing, and this is where we're going to be putting the boat and RV storage. Okay, this is where we're putting that. So overall, the property this is $1 million, this property. I think that is a great buy, honestly. And, and so I'm really excited about this property. It's a great first property to put into the fund. And I'm excited about sharing this with all the investors in the fund as well, too. And okay, so let me show you the numbers. All right. And if you have any questions, just this gives you an overview. Okay, so I forgot to tell y'all. So right now we're in the process of putting a gate in. We just got the electric done. We got internet done. There was already security cameras there. Okay. And so we got a gate we're getting a gate put in here. And it's the kind that kind of opens like this is what it is. It kind of just opens like that is what it is. And then we're also putting a gate right here. There's no gate here at all. So we're putting a gate. There's a fence, but there's no gate. It's just open. And so we're going to put a gate here as well too. Electric got done. And so now we're just waiting on the gate people to come finish up. Okay. And so this gate right here and this gate right here cost $15,000 total. Okay, so 2 gates, $15,000. Really, honestly, that's pretty fair, I think, pretty fair price, I guess, for 2 gates. Okay, just to give everybody an idea. Okay, so let me stop share and let me get back into the, I have the billing analyzer right here. Okay, so can y'all see the billing analyzer? Can y'all see it? I think I'm in the right one, right? Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, so so this is what it looks like. Okay, so the purchase price is $1 million. Okay, we ran the numbers at a 7 cap. All right, market cap rate 7, and then the cap rate that actually it comes out to $1 million is a 7 cap. Okay, and actually the owner gave us the price. So he said, if you can buy this for $1 million, then you can have it. And I was like, put that thing under contract right now. And so it was 136 units, 22,200 square feet. And it comes out to 52 cents a square foot. He's 15% vacant. And then we're taking it from 52 cents to 99 cents a square foot. Isn't that crazy? So yeah, so he owned this thing for 15 years and he hadn't raised the rates, but just a couple times in the 15 years. And then he also had a lot of people that weren't paying. So economic occupancy was not where it should be, right? Obviously, like he should have been making more money than this, but he wasn't. He's from Blairsville, and it's a little tiny town, only 700 people, right? And so he just didn't want to piss everybody off. And a lot of people that had been there for a long time. And also Pete was talking to a couple of people that were tenants, and he said that he talked to one guy and he was like, and Pete, whenever he's there working at the facility, he never tells anybody that he is the owner, right? He never tells anybody that he's the owner. So they'll tell him stuff. He just says, yeah, I just work for the company. I'm just here to like maintenance or whatever. And so he said that one guy came in to like pay his bill, because essentially you drive in and you pay cash or check, right? Is how you pay at this place. And so he came in to pay his bill, and the guy was like, the guy was talking to Pete, and he said, yeah, so he's like, oh yeah, Ray, he's like, he was losing a lot of money. He like never raised the rents. It was awesome. He's like, I can totally see why the new owners are raising rents. He's like, because we were getting a great price for a long time. That's exactly what he said. Isn't that funny? So even the tenants know that they're getting really good rates. All right. Even the tenants know this, but they're not going to ever complain and tell you, right? So we're the bad people. We come in and we raise the rates. Okay. And I saw this. Eric is asking, are the 15,000 K gates electric? Yes, they are electric. It's $15,000 for electric gates. Now that did not include the connection to store edge. That was another like $3,000 and $4,000. I can't remember how much it was. So like just to put the gates in and then the electrical, and then you also have to buy the what is it called? I'm not sure what it's called, but it's like the connection that goes, it goes to store edge so that you can manage everything from the store edge platform. So I can't remember what it's called, but that's also extra. So probably 20,000 maybe total for like both gates. So 10,000, it's about $10,000 a gate. All right. It's about 10,000. I would just budget like 10,000. Okay. And then Ray says we can make some extra income by doing tours of the haunted house for Halloween. Yeah, somebody lives there, so I can't do that. She's paying $400 a month. That place you could probably rent for 2,000. Honestly, it's like huge, big house, but what are we supposed to do with her? She's been there like 10 years and she's like asking us, she's like, are y'all going to raise rents and stuff? Now, we did not include that income at all into the numbers. So we did not put her income in. We didn't put in the RV parking. That's going to be all just extra bonus on the top once we get everything going. Once we raise her rent, we'll probably raise it to something, but I'm not sure what it's going to be. All right. Okay. Okay, so now, yeah, so as you can see here on the deal analyzer, that's $1 million is what the valuation came out to. So it seemed pretty fair to me, right? And now you could see the debt service ratio is at 0.1, 1.06, right? To get a bank and get a loan, it may be a little hard to do that $1 million. We'll look at the numbers and see, because you have to keep that in mind now, right? Like I said in the beginning, you got to start keeping that in mind. If you have to go to a bank and get a loan, you got to run the numbers to make sure that those numbers work at like 20% down or 25% down and like 7% interest or whatever, 7.5% interest. Okay. Now at this time it was like 5% interest or something. This was back in the summertime. Okay, so yeah, so anything else here, you can see that we put $50,000 of CapEx in, is what we did. So is there, we got new gates, we may have to put a new AC maybe into the garage area. We may or may not, may just let it die and then fix it then. Let's see what else. Not a lot of work, honestly. We're going to bush hog that area, just clean up and stuff like that, is really what it is. But we put $50,000 in just to be on the safe side. Okay. And then here's property taxes, utilities, insurance. Insurance is expensive because you have to add like all the different buildings, and insurance goes off of how many buildings that you have, right? So we have a lot of buildings. We have the storage, we got the climate control, the house, the barn, the apartment. So we got a lot of stuff going on. So it's just kind of expensive. Okay. And then our expenses are, $15,000 a year for property maintenance. That includes like repairs and things like that. That's the boots on the ground person plus the repairs. The staffing is answering the phones, right? And kind of doing all the auctions and stuff like that. The software and merchant fees, right, come out to, $10,000. And then the marketing to market the place. So we've got like a website, plus we're using Sparefoot, and then we'll use Sparefoot for a little bit, but the goal is to get onto Google Ads and to really get that going and stuff. That's really the end, because you can really find tenants cheaper on Google Ads than on Sparefoot. Okay. And then we bought this cash because we bought it in the fund. So we raised the money. We raised $1 million to purchase this facility. Okay. And so you can see here that, yeah, so we bought it cash for $1 million. The cash on cash comes out to like 18% or 19% cash on cash return. Okay. So in the fund now we're shooting for like 19% IRR, 19% cash on cash is what we're shooting for. Okay. Inside the fund. But in real life, anything over 10% cash, 10% cash on cash return is a great investment. Multifamily, they're looking at like 6 and 7% cash on cash return, right? So you can get to, we always run our numbers at 10% is what we do for cash on cash. Okay. Let's see. Here's the cash flow. Yeah, so you can see that the income as is at around 9,700. And actually I'll go, yeah, I did cash 9,700, 3,900 for the expenses. And we run our numbers at 38%, right? So that's when you saw all the expenses on the info tab, but that's about 38%. The NOI is a 5,900, right? NOI, but that doesn't mean anything unless if you have a mortgage. If you have obviously we have no mortgage because we bought it cash, but like if you have a mortgage, you'll want to look at what your net monthly, income is, right? And then you'll also want to look at your cash on cash return. So obviously at 50 cents a square foot, like you're not making any money on this deal, right? But and he was running it all himself. So he was making $10,000 a month, and it was probably costing him like, maybe a couple $1,000s to run it himself. I mean, he would get up every day and run this facility, right? So for him, he was netting probably $5,000 a month. He was happy. Right. But for us, we've got all these expenses. We've got, people working and operating expenses and all that. So we always have to look at that. So the owner's expenses are not important. Your expenses are important. That's how you're running your numbers, is based on your expenses. Okay. And then you have bank financing, right? And this is, if you're going to get a loan, this is what you're going to get. So as you can see now, remember, we took it from here's the unit mix, right? This is all the unit mix, and this is how we come up with the square footage. And we take it from 43 cents a square foot. If it was full, it was 43 cents a square foot, right? And we're taking it to $1.04. This is the number that we came up with, was $1.04. Now we ran the numbers at 99 cents because I was like, man, $1.04, that seems like really high. I was like, let's go at least under $1. And my husband, when he ran the numbers, he came up with like 101 to 104. And he really doubled the rates is what he did. And we just like pissed everybody off. But people were getting like, for a 10 by 10, they were getting like $20 a month. That's like, some people were paying like $20 a month for a 10 by 10. And then we raised the rates to like $100. So of course I would be pissed off too, right? But then like we told everybody, like, we're the same price as everybody else. I mean, everybody else is at $100. So we're going to be at $100. Right. So here's the competition. And we're somewhere between like $85 and $100. Like some of the people, if they, pitch a fit and whatever, we'll say, look, we could do $85 a month, but that is as low as we're going to go. Right. So you can see here. Yeah. So one person, let's see, who was this? Eagle Shops and Storage is at 75, but everybody else was like 95, 90, 100. This is why competitive analysis is so important. And we're just talking to the owners and seeing what they're charging. Obviously there's a lot of competition in the area. You can see within and I think this is within a 10-mile radius. Like I told Nick, I was like, find every storage facility within a 10-mile radius. I want to know every facility and what they're charging. Right. Just so I could, because I know we were going to be buying this one. And I was like, I just want to know this market really well, so that's why doing the competitive analysis is so important. And so you can see now that we're, for a 10 by 10, I mean, the national average for a 10 by 10 is 88 cents a square foot, So, we're really not too bad off. But if some of the customers do complain, then I told Pete, I was like, just go down to like $85, say, look, the national average is $88 for a 10 by 10 right now. We'll do 85 if you stay. So we're doing a lot of negotiations and stuff too, because it really does piss a lot of people off. The 10 by 30s, look, $199 for a 10 by 30. Right. And, so we had to come up and so they were being charged I don't know, $75 or something like this, ridiculous prices, so of course we're pissing everybody off, So anyways, that's why we're looking at all the competition. We're looking at the unit mix. And then you can see in the valuation, let's see, we did not put any other income in or anything like that. Let me go back to this way. So, yeah, so we came up with a purchase price of 99,000, but then we're taking it from $1 million to $2.8 million, right? So we'll by the time we sell this property, it should be valued at around $3 million. And, that's really just buying it, ripping the Band-Aid, stabilizing it, and then within 18 months, sell it. All right. And then all of our investors get to share in this profit right here. That's a 19% cap rate. So we're taking it from a 7% to a 19%. And then we'll be able to sell it at like, what does the market look like in 18 months? Is it going to be a 7 cap? This area is really could be anywhere from like a 6 to 7 to an 8 cap, but most likely it'll probably be like between a 6 and a 7. I also have a facility in this area, and I got offered in the highest peak, I got offered a 4 cap, and I didn't sell it. I don't know why, but I didn't. Because I'm like you, like Eric, I don't want to let go of my facilities. I'm like, no, I don't want to let go. So we didn't sell it. But so anyway, so that's overall, that's Blairsville. I mean, it's a great property. And it's that $1 million to $3 million. So it's perfect for the fund. And like I said, I progressed from my very first facility was $250,000. Over 5 years, I progressed up to like $1 million facilities. And, and the goal for us is to if it's an income producing property, double the value, if not triple the value of the property within like, a year to 18 months. And that's kind of where we're at. And you can do that with a $300,000 property, or you can do that with a $1 million property. All right. Okay, good. Any final questions or thoughts on Blairsville, our last session of our last case study for my properties? Let's do questions. From your experience, is there a rule of thumb on the cost of fencing? Yes, you know what? Can't remember anymore, but we got a quote. I think, was it $25 a linear feet? I can't remember, honestly. We had one for property that we were looking at fencing. It was like 2 acres. It was 2 acres and it was $25,000. So whatever that equals, that's the cost that it was costing. And I can't remember what it was. Okay, so you could divide that, find out what 2 acres and divide it by $25,000. Okay. Good. Let's see what else. Any other final questions on Blairsville? Or I'm going to jump onto my fund and move on now. Oh yeah, and just a quick reminder that next Monday is Halloween, and I will be taking my daughter trick-or-treating. So there is no webinar tomorrow next week, or there's no fund pitch. All right, next week. So I will be trick-or-treating with my daughter. Okay, and then we will come back on like the week after, and we'll start doing more stuff. Okay. Okay, good. And then Yvonne asked, do you recommend climate control? Yeah, there's no with climate control, at all. Just make sure, climate control in like a primary market is going to be way too expensive for most people to afford. But climate controlled in a secondary or a tertiary market, just make sure it's in a budget where, people can afford that. People can afford it. People can afford, $100 a month, 150, maybe 200. 200 is kind of pushing it, I think, over the next couple of years. So I would say climate control in the tertiary market is going to do great. Climate control in a primary market over the next couple of years is going to be suffering. In fact, I feel like primary market storage is really going to suffer over the next couple of years because they're so oversaturated. And there's still so much storage being built right now. There's a lot of storage being built, because I just talked to one of my students, and he was in like, over the course of the last year, he was in like a super hot area, not a lot of storage, and now all of a sudden there's like 3 storage facilities being built within like 2 miles from him. All right, so just keep that, and find out, and go to Radius Plus and find out if there's storage being built in that area, because Radius Plus shows that. All right. And then you can just be aware, if you're going to be buying something, what your competition looks like. Just like I said, what does your competition look like? Okay, good. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me, and you can jump on to the pitch, stacyrosetti.com/fund. Otherwise, I will see you in a couple of weeks. All right. Happy Halloween. And I will talk to you soon. Take care.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Storage Nerds. Hope this informative conversation inspired you to go out there and jump into this highly profitable business venture that people rarely talk about. Get more tips on storage space investing at www.stacyrosetti.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and leave a rating. Together, let's build that thriving passive income one storage space at a time. Until next time.